Hello and welcome to this video. My name is David Thorne. In this video we're going to be talking all about UIViewRepresentable. Now this is a bridge between UIKit / AppKit with the likes of SwiftUI. So it's basically creating a SwiftUI view but then harnessing everything that you've got with inside of UIKit inside of it. Alright, with that said, rather than explain it, let's just do a demonstration with an example. Alright, and let's create a project, iOS project. We're using SwiftUI here, so it's not storyboards, and we're using Swift and so on. And we're just going to say view representable and go from there, bang it in my projects folder. And we are going to be testing this predominantly with inside of here, but we might want to run it on the iPhone. So let's just quickly let it run up on the iPhone to get a blank screen, and we'll go from there. All right. And so this video, you might think that you don't need this, but there's a whole bunch of parts, frameworks of AppKit and UIKit that haven't yet been overhauled to be completely ready for SwiftUI. So in iOS 17, there's some things that are nearly done, but I think it's going to be like iOS 19 or something where you can completely make a SwiftUI app using everything. All right, so you're going to need this at one point. Don't think you're not going to. You're going to need, unless you want to have some basic app all the time that just shows data, lists, and so on, without actually accessing anything else that Apple offers you. Then fine, but you're going to need it. So with that said, we need to create our view. All right, and we're just going to create a standard Swift file, and this is going to be called my button. All right, and we're going to basically just wrap a UI button in it and show you how to utilize everything that you would do in UIKit. Now, if you've never programmed UIKit, don't worry about it. It's pretty simple. Obviously, SwiftUI is even more simple. So the most important part here is this is going to be a struct. All right, so this is a value type all the time, and we're not moving away from the whole point is if you're going to do SwiftUI, you've got to be a struct all the time. And we are going to say my button, and this is going to be a UIViewRepresentable. Okay, and just before we implement all the stubs, let's go inside and have a look at this, and you can see that we've got an associated type here of UIView type, and that needs to be a UIView. Okay, so it's saying, hey, you've got to be a part of UIKit. And then we have make UIView here and update UIView here. And then we've got dismantle UI, but this is other parts of it. The two main things, or the three main things, is the associated type and these two functions that we're going to look at right now. But first of all, let's just let SwiftUI be a part of it, and let's let Xcode do our thing. And it's going to be a button, and then let's let it do the rest of the stubs. And let's just do a bit quick cleanup, put these down here. And let's walk and talk through these functions now. Okay, so make UIView is going to be called once. Update UIView is going to be called every single time any state changes with inside the content view. So if we add a state or a state with inside this content view, which we're going to do, every single time that state gets updated and this body has to get re-rendered, or this content view has to get re-rendered, right, then this update UIView is going to get created first. When the app launches and we put the my button in here, then that my button is going to be created once inside this make UIView. All right, and every update after that, this update UIView is going to be created. Okay, so let's just start off by creating a button, and obviously we're going to just return it straight away. And inside of here, we are going to say button set title. And this title we are going to receive from outside, all right? And it's just going to be a normal text string that we're going to receive. And we're going to display this for the normal state. And then we're going to just change the color of it to be black for the normal state as well. Super duper. So, but what we also want to have is inside of this title, right, that we receive from here, we just say title, and we are going to then have a counter displayed in it as well, just to show you the glory of having bindings in this too. So let's just say binding, and binding here, and we can say var and then counter and then int. All right, so we've got our title that's passed in that's not any binding, and then we've got our counter that is a binding. This is our way to talk back to SwiftUI. It's through this binding. All right, and so now when we do this, we come to the content view, and let's put my button there. And as you can see, we get this straight away. So this is going to be like an initial state here in the text. And then we add our counter state at the top. Let's say counter, and it's going to start off with the value of 0. And then we just do $ counter here. Now I just want to show you something interesting in this, right? When you have a title and a binding like this is nothing really to do with this video, but I thought this would be a good golden nugget. This would be a good little under the hood type thing. When you create the initializer on this and then build, you're going to see this self used before all stored properties initialized, return from initializer without initializing all stored properties. All right, and you're going to think, what's going on here? I'm done this right. Right. What you have to understand is that bindings, this property wrapper, is going to create a lot more properties inside of this struct in the background. And so you can't say call self at the moment because there's still stuff being done here that you don't have done. So the way that this needs to happen is, first of all, we're going to change this to be a binding, to call it be an int. And the way to be able to set this is then to say underscore binding. All right, it's another video completely, but just showing you there how to get over this. If you suddenly encounter this problem, that is how to fix it. All right. So now we have this, we have our title being updated every single time. And let's come back to here, and that's all perfectly fine. And let's just redo this. And you will see once this is decided to build, we have initial state of 0. All right, this is our initial text. And so the idea behind this is that we update our text as we go along. All right. So, but we don't have any actions on this, first of all. So let's create a tap gesture here, and let's just update the counter to show you how it would normally work in SwiftUI. And when we do this, you see nothing is updating, all right, because no actions within inside of the button. We haven't updated any update UI view here, all right. But we'll come back to this towards the end of the video, all right, because this is kind of it's gonna give you a problem if you do this, because this is going to override anything we do with inside my button. So next point is we want to add a action or a target action, target selector action, which way you ever want to call it, to the button. But if we say self here, this is a struct, right? And we can't say self here because this only allows a class or an NS object. And we can't change this to a class because the SwiftUI requires that it's a struct. It requires that it's a value type. So how do you do this? Well, it's okay. There is another function that we can do, and it's called make coordinator. And this make coordinator is going to be the thing that we're going to put in there, all right? And when we say context.coordinator, this is what's going to be returned from here. And inside of this, when we say our coordinator, right, which we are going to call it a button delegate, that's what we're going to call it. We need to wrap this first of all before I forget in the selector. And we're going to call it button delegate, even though it's a coordinator. And we're going to call a function called button tapped for touch up inside. So let's just go ahead and create this, right? But one way that I want to be able to talk to the button, I want to be able to talk to this binding is by passing self or my button inside of this, all right? So let's go ahead and create this class. And this is the great thing about it, is we're creating a class, so we are now we now have all of the functionality of a class, right? And where we can use Objective-C in this sense. And here we can say button tapped, and then we have the sender UI button, and we can do any actions inside of this. So now everything is happy, but we need a reference to the button. So this is now my button. When we initialize it, we can also say super.init just to be clean, All right, but we now have a reference to this one button. Now remember, this is a reference, this is a value type, all right? This is a struct, so it's just a copy of our button, but we know that the binding is going to be set every single time. So we can use that binding to say that we got button dot counter here plus equal 1. And let's just say plus equal 5 first of all. So now we now know that we've got this one. Let's just say return here. Oh, we need to change this to here to say that the type is correct. Right, so now we're adding the target to the button. And let's just go back over to the content view just to see what you think is going to happen when we tap this. Nothing still, right? Because we haven't done the update. But let's come to here to show you button tapped. All right, and come back to our content view once again, and let's clear this down here, and whoops, previews, and you can see here button tapped. It's getting tapped all the time. All right, but obviously we haven't updated the view itself, right? Well, we need to come back to here again and come back inside of our update UI view, because this is what is going to be called every single time the update comes. This is only going to be called once. This is for us to initialize everything inside of our view. And then this is going to be called once again. Now, right now, we've already got the title because it's being passed down, and we've got then the counter already because we've got a binding to it, all right? So we can literally just come back to our content view now, and we can do this, and you can see that it gets updated perfectly, but initial state is still there. So let's come back to our button, and let's now change this to updated state here instead, right? And we now update this again, and we can see here that we get, and it changed already to updated state already. You see that? Well, let's just come back out and run it again. Whoops. And run it again, and it changed to updated state already. So you can see that there was some form of update already happening, right? So it never really even got this initial text, because SwiftUI is always calling update. Basically, it just doesn't, you know, there might be things still happening. That's why it's called it. So really, we want another way of, we want another binding really to make the other views take on this string. All right. So let's just change this to be a binding to, and change that to a string, and then change this to change this to that as well. And now when we set let's just say title is equal to this instead now, right? And then we can say just title, title is here. All right, let's come back over to our content view. We now know that we need a state, var title and string, and we're just going to say initial state here. And we can pass then the binding to our initial states, and let's put the title in here too. All right, let's get rid of this because I don't need it, and go down. And now when we update it, it's not working again. So we now, when we come to our button, when we tap on it, the button's being updated, the counter is being updated. It's coming to here, and set title. This is where the problem is. All right, is we are actually updating before we can update. Right, so we're updating the title inside of here, but that's forcing another update of this one, update UI view. So we can't update this really, because it's updating it once again. I made a mistake on that. I was just trying to take it, be a little bit, give it extra information, right? So by updating binding in here, we can't really do, right? But what we can do is update the button title is equal to this instead. And let's just say the counter here instead. Let's get rid of this print. So now we know what we've updated on the button, and this title has been updated, right? So we should we should just literally now be able to say this, and I think this will work now. And there we go. So we're updating the state here. So now we have this like this this wall between the button delegate. The button delegate's been doing the updating of the actual view itself, the struct, because it's only a struct, right? But that's on the bindings as well. And this binding can communicate to outside, but it meant that our update UI view is just saying, hey, this is what the view is supposed to look like. And the most important thing to learn from this is to not do any updates on the update UI view. This should be just a pure output onto your button itself, and not to touch any state. All right, so this is, please don't touch state. This is just to do all the work on the right, which is here, and then do the easy stuff on the read, all right, which is then here as such. With that said, when we come back to here and we say on tap gesture recognizer, and we say title equals here updated, and we just say counter is here, and then we say counter plus equal to and stuff. You'll see here that we get all of that functionality from the gesture recognizer, sorry, in here, this target. It all just gets removed, all right? So you have to either do it fully with inside of the likes of UIKit or use SwiftUI. Now, what is the benefit of this? We're just using a button. We could have just used a simple button with inside of SwiftUI. It doesn't really matter. But what about when you want to start using maps, or the photo kit, or core location, GPSs, or anything like that, Bluetooth? You know, there might be some views or some components in UIKit and AppKit that don't already have this functionality in SwiftUI. And maps are that important is because right now they have a really declarative version in iOS 17. However, if you want to support iOS 16, there's a few other things that aren't really totally nice. So, but if you want to go back to iOS 15 or 14 and so on, this is where you're going to have to start bridging between the likes of the old map kit and then the new map kit, all right? And there's a whole bunch of other examples of this. But so with that said, I hope that you understand now how to bridge between the likes of UIKit, AppKit, and also SwiftUI using the UIViewRepresentable. And if we just take another look into this, you've got also dismantle UIView, you've got the coordinator as well. So you could have just set the associated type by coordinator, and then you've got other things here which I don't really want to go into. So with that said, I hope that you got something out of this one video. I hope you've learned something from this one video. If this is the first time you've seen NSObject, this is a Objective-C thing. This is the days of Steve Jobs back in the days with Macintosh in the beginning. It's another story that you should look into, why it's called NS. It's really a good story. Yeah, so with that said, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and do all of the other social media stuff that you can possibly do to this one video. If you do have any questions, feedback, or concerns, then let's start a conversation as ever in the comment section down below. My name's David Thorne. This video has been all for you, and I promise you that there's a reason for this one video, because you're going to need it, because I've got to make this one video to make other videos, specifically to use MapKit, to use other things, to show you how to support multiple different versions of these one things, because I'm not just going to jump in and say let's use iOS 17 and so on. It's all the newest stuff, because that's not how it works. You rarely use the newest stuff ever. Maybe for prototyping or something you do, but no big customer is ever going to say we want the top version. They're always going to say our customers are using old iPhones, they're using old iOS version, they haven't updated this, they haven't updated that. So you're going to have some backward compatibility. For that reason, you're going to have to learn some UIKit, but if you don't want to, at least learn UIViewRepresentable, because at least here you can do some copy and pasting inside of here from Stack Overflow, from ChatGPT, or whatever. With that said, thank you very much for watching. My name's David Thorne, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.